I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Parkside Borough Council. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Platt. Roll call, please.
Mayor Roman, absent. President Guy.
Here.
Vice President Costigan.
Here.
Mr. Bull.
Here.
Powers. Mr. Sidlow.
Here.
Mrs. Purcival.
Here.
Mr. Sweigart.
Here.
Mr. Wills.
Here.
Ms. Catania.
Here.
Ms. Stillwell. Absent. And Junior Counsel is off to the side.
But still present. Thank you very much. Has everybody had a chance to read the July meeting minutes? Thank you very much, Bob, for your efforts with that. Are there any questions? I'll make a motion to accept July's meeting minutes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Thank you.
Is there any correspondence?
Yeah. Hello, my name is Marco Lee. I'm interested in the secretary position if it's still available. Please call me with any questions. I'd like to ask council permission to respond until the position is filled.
I think you can do that.
Yeah.
It's a tough crowd.
See, I went for levity and I didn't get it. I received an email from the Communications Committee asking if we could find out what it would cost to run a copy. After doing some digging, I found out that we pay roughly 0.059 per copy, say 6
That's
cents.
for black, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And then
No,
color. I think
combo.
I thought color was 9
That was
cents.
combined.
Color's 9 cents per
That
side.
was combined.
What?
That's color and black.
Okay.
Okay, so the black is less than that.
Right. Yeah. So I think I think Communication Committee will talk about
Yeah.
that when they
I
get to it.
responded and we received an email from a Joan Abrams. I just recently noticed 2 signs on Edgemont Avenue that indicated they were sponsored by Parkside Democrats. Were these signs paid for by Parkside Democrats or by Parkside Borough funds? One is at the corner of Avon and Edgemont, the other is in Brookhaven. I would greatly appreciate a prompt reply. Thank you, Joan Abrams. And you respond and told her that the signs are paid for by PennDOT.
Yep. Department of Transportation.
This is a email from a Brandon Driscoll. I'm writing this email in response to 1, the special council meeting from last night, 2, the post from a council member indicating a member of council trying to shut down the firehouse. Please feel free to read this letter to council at the August council meeting, since I will be unable to attend. Firehouse topic. I saw a post that a council member is constantly indicating that certain members of council would like to shut down the firehouse, and if successful, our insurance rates will go up. This deeply concerns me for the reason I heard no council member indicate that they would want to shut down the firehouse. In fact, around the 22-minute mark into the second video from the special August council meeting, it was stated that was not to close the firehouse, only to understand how the funds are being spent and allocated. Now, based on the news of Rob, which I was saddened to hear since I voted for him, I sort of understand the request. This is the taxpayers' money. I see an individual asking about Parkside money every meeting, in fact. It was a unanimous vote in favor of the audit. And yes, Shirley, I understand the only wanting to go back 3 years or so. I'm good with that as well. My questions are, what is the problem in understanding how public funds are being spent, whether via donation or from public funds? 2, is there anyone on council that would like to shut down the firehouse? 3, if the answer to question 2 is no, Shirley, why do you continue to push that certain individuals would like to shut down the firehouse? Then make a statement of increased insurance rates to the public if the firehouse closes where concerning the public. Politics. Code enforcer. I do not want to see Nick fired or let go. Let's be clear on this topic. However, when I hear that he overcharged for cleaning, which you will say that was approved, it was, not disagreeing with you there, but that cost seemed very high to the taxpayers, as well as not providing a password to the Borough Facebook page so that a non-political announcement may be made. Pennsylvania is an at-will employment state. If an employee did this in their job, they may have also been let go. Also, it was said that they cannot disclose why he was dismissed as the code officer. Is that because something is under an active investigation? Any additional information to the topics listed above would greatly be appreciated. Thank you, Brendan Driscoll, Upland Road.
I'll just say that, no, we've never said that we want to shut down the firehouse, and as far as not being able to discuss it, it has more to do with it being a personnel matter, and that would be inappropriate to discuss.
I will add these to the copy of the minutes when we do.
Did you want to respond?
I did, but I was waiting until he was finished.
Okay.
If you'd like me to respond now, I will just say the council's received all of the back and forth comments from this gentleman over a social media post, and that I have given the secretary a copy of all the communications. I'm asking it to be put with the official minutes and also with the website copy.
This is from Christine Sillick. Shirley, I had heard the minutes of the list of the last Parkside Borough Council meeting, and I would like a public apology. You were accusing me of not filing the Parkside Fire Company taxes. I resigned in May 2017 from the financial position due to my husband dying of cancer and having to take care of my children. Evidently, you have gotten that information from Mr. Rob Powers, who cannot be trusted with anything. If you have any questions regarding my work at the firehouse, please call me and ask me before trying to smear my name, or the lawsuits will be pending. And she included her email resigning from the firehouse in 2017.
And I did respond, as council all have a copy of my response along with our solicitor, since she mentioned the word lawsuit, and I gave her direction to the post that had been posted on social media. I will again ask that a copy of the response and her email be placed with the official minutes and also on the website with the minutes.
That is all I have correspondence for.
All right. Looks like we're back to you because you said you have the mayor's report.
Remember what I said earlier. Good evening. Sorry I'm not giving my report in person, but I'm on vacation. And last month I had medical issues that kept me from coming. Chief Murray will give the mayor's report in reference to the police department. I would like to respond to the remark President Guy made in her president's report last month. She made reference about someone spending $300 frivolously on letterhead with their name and position on it, while she failed to tell you that it was me. It's funny because when we hired our new secretary, I was making sure that the office was stocked with all the supplies he needed to start out with since everything was low or gone. Not the president of council. Each time we were without a secretary, I volunteered many, many hours of my time along with Councilwoman Purcival to keep the office open and running swiftly, not our council president. And the thing she wants to complain about was me getting my letterhead. Are you serious? The purchase she is referring to is stationery for the office and myself. My portion of the $296 was $168, and the difference of $128 is the office stationery. Those notepads she has also spoken of were given to me for free, no charge. Granted, Mrs. Guy may say it wasn't needed. Everything is done over the internet. Well, I disagree. I personally feel it is still necessary and personable for a face-to-face with letterhead in hand, especially if we are requesting donations of any sort. What does it really hurt to give a professional look, especially from the mayor and head of recreation? Now I'd like to say I will not be shamed for getting my stationery, nor will I pay for it, contrary to what President Guy and Councilman Sidlow think. As mayor, I have a budget and it should be taken out of that. Just to let everyone know, I did not use any of my budget last year. Mr. Wills, a question for you. Do you charge the borough an additional fee to prepare for our council meetings and board meetings? The reason I asked that question brings me to this last thing. President Guy and Mr. Sidlow, you want to speak about money being spent frivolously. Residents get an RTK of how much money our former solicitor charged the borough for private meetings and private email with President Guy, and especially for preparing for our meetings. See how much he really got paid. Now that was a waste of taxpayers' money, not my budget money. Mayor Roman.
Well, I'm going to respond that the mayor does not have a budget. There's not a single line on our budget that is the mayor's to spend. And Bob, you and I looked and saw how much stationery there was, right? In addition to the full box that was just ordered, there was nearly a full box, correct?
Yes, we did.
So we spent $168, and now we have 1,000 sheets, and you've used how many since you started? 3, right? Okay,
I believe one, and that was for
One.
Parker. That was for Parker.
yeah, all right. So,
Maybe 2 if I made a mistake.
and having worked for a nonprofit, when you're soliciting funds, donations, you don't use linen paper. It sends the wrong message. We weren't even allowed to buy gold paper clips even when they were the same price. But, all right, so, do you have a crime report? Was that all of it? Oh, yeah, and the
I have two.
crime report, thank you.
For the month of July, we had 7 crimes reported, 3 assaults, 1 theft, 2 DUIs, and 1 disorderly conduct. We had 192 calls for service. Among those, 8 medical emergencies, 11 suspicious persons, 10 parking complaints, 19 building checks, and 25 assisted with other agencies. There was 1 accident in the borough. We conducted 34 traffic details, made 101 motor vehicle stops, issued 17 traffic citations, and 84 warnings during the month.
Thank you very much, and I did skip over, I'm assuming you have the resolution. Do you have the resolution for, Nate, no, who has it?
The resolution for,
Under the mayor's report,
yes, I do.
okay. Did he leave? Is he hiding? He's here? All right,
I have it here if you don't.
Jay,
I do have it here.
Okay,
okay, good.
And,
Should we make him stand up here?
absolutely.
Put him on the spot?
Is he here?
Yeah, come
he's
on
here.
up, come on up.
We even have the police officer there to keep it from running.
It's a shame.
Go ahead and,
I'm going to read the resolution, Nathaniel. Whereas the Parkside Borough Scholarship is awarded annually to one outstanding graduate senior from Sun Valley High School who resides in the Borough of Parkside. And whereas Parkside Borough is pleased to announce that Nathaniel Sweigart of 23 East Elbon Road is the winner of the 2023 Parkside Borough Scholarship Award. And whereas Nathaniel had struggled with an arduous reading challenges in his early school years, which adversely affected his success in all subject areas. And whereas Nathaniel successfully overcame this challenge through hard work and perseverance, setting and exceeding numerous educational goals for himself in the process. And whereas Nathaniel has navigated an honors level education while also participating in a copious amount of extracurricular clubs and sports teams. And whereas Nathaniel has also demonstrated his commitment to the community by his volunteer work with the Parkside Community Day and the Boy Scouts, where he recently achieved the rank of Eagle Scout. And whereas Nathaniel has navigated an honors level education, again, and also whereas Nathaniel will be attending Penn State University, right, in State College this fall to further his studies and pursue a full-time career in engineering. And whereas Parkside Borough and its residents benefit from publicly honoring our admirable young people such as Nathaniel Sweigart, who embody the qualities of perseverance, determination, and initiative. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the Borough Council of Parkside Borough, hereby commend and congratulate Nathaniel Sweigart for being named the 2023 Parkside Borough Scholarship Award winner. We extend our sincere best wishes for his continued success and as he embarks on his college career. Congratulations, Nathaniel. And you're going to get a written copy of this resolution.
You can frame it. Thank you, Nate. Congratulations.
Go finish packing.
No, he's proud.
We leave
A
tomorrow
motion?
morning.
To accept the resolution? All right.
Yes.
I'll accept the motion to accept the resolution.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Second. Any questions? All those in favor? Aye.
I'll say.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you, Lisa. You're welcome. All right. Is that it for mayor's stuff? Now we move on to call to citizens, agenda-related items only. Please don't feel the need to say your address out loud. Come up to the podium, write your address down, state your name, and anybody? All righty then. So now it's me. Okay, President's report. We're going to have an executive session afterward to allow council to meet with our new fire marshal, who I will introduce, Michael Daly. Go ahead and say hi.
Good evening, how is everybody?
Thank you very much. He stepped in to serve as our interim fire marshal until we figure out what's going on with the current fire marshal, but thank you for coming, and we'll meet with you after the meeting.
Certainly.
All right, great, thanks.
Welcome aboard, Mr. Daly.
Thank you, Sam.
Yep, he lives right over in Brookhaven, right on Mount Vernon, right? Or right off of there, yeah.
Right across Upland Road.
Yep, so he's practically from Parkside. All right, let's see. Spoke to the police chief today about the vehicles. One of the things we talked about is we're going to be bringing on a code enforcement officer, and that code enforcement officer will have the use of the vehicle so that we don't have to pay his mileage while he's going around the borough, which wouldn't have been much anyway. But and then the chief has asked that the other vehicle he would like to have as a backup vehicle and put the blue lights on it. Make it the blue and red lights, right?
Right.
So that if they need it, they have it available. And I don't know if anybody has any thoughts on that. I know it's very difficult to sell a vehicle for a municipality, so.
I thought they were gonna go up for auction at some point. They're getting to the end of their line. I don't know, how much are the lights gonna be?
That's a good question. The Crown Victoria has fairly low mileage. It's a 13-year-old vehicle, okay? But it runs fine. It has low mileage because it's only been used here in the borough. So if we get 2, 3, 4 years out of it, probably quite possible.
What do you think the lights would end up costing across the board? A couple thousand?
In maintenance costs?
No, to put the blue lights.
Move
Oh,
it
to
back.
put, to switch back from all red to red and blue,
Yeah.
$150 maybe? It
all right.
shouldn't be, it should not be an expense of any magnitude.
All right, I didn't realize it still had the lights in it. That's perfect.
It is generally the miles on the vehicle that is more germane than necessarily the age of the vehicle.
Sure.
So certainly, if it's got low mileage, chief, then
Chief, is this the vehicle that has the radio that belongs to the fire company in it?
It is. That radio would have to come out and go back to the fire company.
Okay.
Are we making too quick of a decision here? Are we gonna need a fire marshal vehicle in the future, depending on our, right now, we only have an interim fire chief. We don't know what our future holds, whether we get the existing fire marshal back or whether we have to hire a new one. Or can the code enforcement and fire marshals share a car?
Perhaps.
I feel like this is a good decision, but not yet. I feel like it's too soon before we know what our staffing needs are.
All right, I'm willing to talk about that.
I have to agree with Mr. Sidlow because not only do we have to change out the lights, we're going to have to get a radio for that car. Maybe we should wait another month or so.
So let's keep talking about it, Chief, but I think we should.
That's fine.
Yeah.
All right, just wanted to catch y'all up on that.
Please bring it back up.
So I was wondering, all our ordinances that mention the health inspector being municipal, a borough person, do we need to change all those ordinances to reflect that Delaware County is now doing those inspections? For example, our ice cream truck.
Well, that's being changed in
That's in that? Okay.
in the ordinance we're describing today.
Does that deal with the ice cream truck?
That's-
The ordinance with that one too?
Yeah.
Okay, good, good.
Yeah, but I don't know any other. There are probably allusions to health inspector in the ordinances, but I don't know where specifically without looking closer.
Right, all right.
I suspect we may have to tweak those ordinances because they generally refer to the municipal health inspector, and you're right, the county health department is now taking on most of those responsibilities.
Right, okay, thank you. Things that pop in my head. As far as expenses, I guess I'll ask Ms. Purcival, what was the general policy as far as expenses? Were we supposed to vote on expenditures, or what was the limit for voting on expenditures?
As I mentioned at a prior meeting, it was usually $500.
$500, okay, because I just remember when Perry wanted to use budgeted money for recreation committee to buy a projector and a
Yeah.
screen, that was like $200, but it was felt the need to bring it to a vote, and it was voted down, so I'm just curious.
The
Well,
rec-
the one item was 200, but the combined was totaled over 500, that's why.
It was over 400, 500 for the whole thing?
Between both, yeah, because the projector itself is a good projector is gonna run you $1,000 or so.
$1,000?
Yeah, the screen itself was under 5, but it's, the two together were well over the 500.
Okay. That's not what I remember. I remember it being much lower, but I'll have to check my notes. All right,
Usually the recreation committee, unless they have a large expenditure, does not come to council for approval, unless there's a large expenditure such as the projector issue.
oh, okay, gotcha. So $500, that's the limit, all right. Is that typical?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, zoning board, so I just wanted to give an update on that. I'm actually really impressed. We had 10 people express interest in participating in the zoning board, so I don't think we'll have any problems getting 5 qualified people, and we'll be contacting them shortly. And we may have to call a special meeting because we do have the one party that has purchased the church. So I don't,
Have they filed a zoning hearing, a zoning application yet?
they've sent a letter of interest, and I'll share that with all of you, but I am just concerned because the fact that we don't have a zoning board is, we're violating the law, and I don't know what kind of recourse they could have. So I would like to get it going as quickly as possible.
By law, any municipality in the Commonwealth that has adopted a zoning ordinance is required by law to have a zoning hearing board in the event a property owner believes he or she has a hardship and is requesting a variance or special exception. So certainly that is an issue we ought to address, and we ought to address in the near future.
Right. So, I mean, I'll see if it can wait to, officially put the board in action, but if not, we may have to call a special meeting.
And again, Section 903 of the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code requires that all appointments to the zoning hearing board be done via a written resolution. So
Okay.
if council has a preliminary consensus on some candidates, I can certainly prepare the necessary resolutions for council's consideration at our next duly assigned meeting.
All right. And I just want to update everybody on the fire company and the audit. As far as I know, they have agreed to submit to the audit, and you've put their solicitor in touch with the treasurer, whose company is also going to perform that audit, correct?
Yes, that was going to be part of my solicitor's report. I can speak about it now if the president or the chair prefers, at your discretion.
No, we can address it then. That'll be fine. But one of the things I would like to propose is, if by the September meeting we feel like they have been putting in a good faith effort to provide what is needed for the audit, but they aren't able to get it done, perhaps we could pay a month at a time, cut a check for 1 month instead of the full $30-some thousand, just cut 1/3 of that.
We have wide discretion, council, as to how and when it chooses to fund the fire company.
Okay. So I'll let the treasurer know how that's going. And let me see if I have anything else in here. All right. That is all I have. Enjoy the rest of your summer. And the next thing we have going on is Community Day. So I'm sure we'll hear about that from Ms. Purcival. And that is all I have. We will move on to Mr. Bill. Bull.
Thank you, Madam President. Ladies and gentlemen, the Parkside Treasurer's Report, August 10th, 2023, for meeting August 16th, 2023. All bank accounts are reconciled through July 31st, 2023, except for the Sharon Bank Escrow and Green Tree WSFS General Funds accounts. They don't maintain online statements for those accounts. We are including all bank reconciliations and statements for all reconciled funds for council's approval. General fund for the month of July, $9,880.40 was deposited into TD Bank, and expenses of $4,191.51 were paid. During this period, $34,191.81 of deposits were received into Sharon Bank General Fund, and $118,389.86 of expenses were paid, including payroll of $48,421.30. Below are the bank balances per bank statements of 7/31/23, and attached are all transactions that flowed through Sharon Bank's General Fund and TD Bank General Fund. General account, Sharon Bank, balance $892,415. General account, TD Bank, balance $325,890.15. And then we have ancillary accounts all the way through liquid fuels and police vests. So I would like to make a motion to approve the treasurer's report for the month of July.
Second.
Any questions?
I have two. Do we know if there's been a request made to Pendelco to reimburse us for the crossing guards? And do we know when the escrow accounts will be closed? And unfortunately, our treasurer isn't here to ask.
I know it was a conversation that we've exchanged emails about. I don't have settled dates for either of those, but one came up in one of our own audits, and I'm not sure how the Pendel building handles the crossing guards in the summer.
I'll ask next month when she's here.
Well, they don't get reimbursed in the summer, do they?
I'm sorry?
Do they get paid in the summer?
No, but we should have submitted it at the end of the school year for reimbursement for the prior school year.
Oh, okay, all right.
And I don't know if she did or she's going to wait until December and deduct the school months. I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
We'll get it sorted out.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Thank you, council. I'd like to make a motion to pay the bills.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Mr. Bull, do we have dates for the budget meetings?
No.
Oh, okay. Would you like to make some
I'm
up?
going to do some of those in September.
Yeah, should we announce them? Well, would you like to pick a date in September?
We always did the previous, no, we did the following Wednesday after we moved our dates. So it would be the fourth Wednesday.
The fourth Wednesday of
in
September.
And the fourth Wednesday of October and the fourth Wednesday of November, historically.
Okay, let me just pull up a calendar.
The first reading of the budget would be at the November meeting.
It gave us enough time for a couple workshops and a few things like that, so my apologies for not having that.
All right, so that would be September 27th is the budget meeting, starting at 7? All right, budget meeting. September 27th at 7. All right. And so then it'll be the Wednesday after the council meetings, the months following. Thank you very much.
Actually, the first one, I think, historically has been like a workshop.
Right.
And then we moved into the actual budget meetings for October and that. Report general progress on the finance side. And for the open space, we still have those tree issues.
Were you able to get quotes?
Haven't had much feedback. I think the prices would be higher right now, just in general, just source them out. There's been storms everywhere, almost once a week. So I would like to see that taken care of. Last month, I tried to abstain because it would be the company I work for trying to enter into one.
So would someone else like to get some quotes? I mean, I had a guy come out and give me a quote this morning on a tree, so he's probably available. Don't anybody jump up.
I'm already dealing with one. I'm
All
not.
right. Perry, you got a couple weeks till school starts.
I started with sports already the last couple days, and I'm going to Penn State tomorrow.
All right.
We'll keep it under review.
All right, Bob. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much, Doug. Junior council report says off for summer, but I'd like to say hi to Brad. Hi. Let's see, do we have a recreation report?
The only thing I would like to remind the community is, everybody has a flyer. If you didn't pick one up, they're on the table. We have Community Day, September 16th, 12 to 4, at the Parkside Elementary School, and October 7th, we have movie night, also at the elementary school.
And what movie is it?
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, starring Perry. All right, Michael, police, public safety.
Yes, so we've had a couple months now, the police adjusting to the 12-hour schedule. From what I understand, the officers are giving good feedback on that schedule, and that things are working out pretty well. The part-time officers that we hired a few months back are coming on board and completing their training so that they'll be ready to go out on the streets and fill vacation time and days off and things like that. So all in all, the police department is in a pretty good place right now. We also have the bike patrol on the weekends for the summer. Not every weekend, but whenever they're able to fill those shifts, they've been doing that. I just have, just would like to report that the police are in a good place. Also talked to the chief, with the additional full-time officers, they're trying to do different things and expand a little bit. So one area is social media. They're trying to expand their social media presence and inform the community of things going on and things like that. So things are going very well. The chief also had a question about potentially changing some locks for security purposes for the accreditation process. So I'm not exactly sure on what the specifics are of that, but just something that the chief wanted to address. So I don't know if you have anything to say about that.
Sure. Part of the accreditation process is the security of our facility. We have records that are kept in the facility. We have computers that have access to privileged information, and having anybody have access to the building without the presence of an officer there is unacceptable. There have been in the past numerous keys that have given folks access to the building, to the police side of the building, and not that anybody went in there when there was nobody there, but the possibility exists that it could happen. So as we move closer to accreditation, we're going to have to correct some of those issues, get some locks rekeyed so that we can control who has access. That's where we're going.
Thank you. And you and I had actually talked about combining efforts because with turnover that we've had in the last few years and people having keys and not really having a terribly good track of who has what keys. Also, if you go into our borough office, there is a lock on every single door in there, and that seems rather excessive. So we are going to look into together, I guess, getting a quote to see about getting the building rekeyed and establishing, who should have access to what. And yeah, the police side, for example, the master key for this building gives access to everything. And, that there should be a differentiation. So I agree. Does anybody have any thoughts on that?
When somebody leaves, whether they're elected or appointed or employment, they have turned over their keys, am I correct? They turn them over to you?
I don't know that I got a key. I think I had to give Bob one of my keys because a key was not turned back.
And we don't know who did not turn a key back?
I'm not going to say it right now, but I will. Not now, but to you later.
I think the bigger issue is who has what key.
Okay.
Okay, if someone turns in keys, we have no way of knowing what keys that person had and whether or not all of those keys that person had were turned back in. Okay, there is no log that I am aware of that has, Tom Murray has this key or these keys. So, in order to tighten security and make sure, we should create a log so that when Tom Murray gets a key and Tom Murray leaves, somebody can look, oh, that's the key he had. Now, the other way to do it, and it might be worth looking at this point, is electronic access. Because electronic access I can go into a computer tomorrow and I can knock everybody out that's not supposed to have access. That is probably, with today's technology, the best way to go. I don't know what cost we would be looking at, but, you know, again, that's something to consider.
It's worth finding out. I mean, if it turns out not to be significantly more, then it may be worthwhile, because we are in 2020, what, 3? Yeah, so.
And Chief, that would probably work out better for your officers if they had somebody that they were bringing in,
Absolutely.
rather than trying to fight the key lock as opposed to just tap the ID on the outside.
Absolutely. Yep.
I'm sure technology has changed since the last time I dealt with fobs. But I know if the power goes out in this building, there could be an issue. But I'm hoping that has all changed as this has progressed.
We would have to look at that and make sure. Now, we may still have to have certain keys, okay, to get into certain portions of the building as a backup.
Right.
Okay, it's not the be-all, end-all, but it certainly has some benefits on at least some of the doors. So, we can look at it. I mean, you know, compare and contrast the two, figure out what the costs are going to be, and then we can decide how to go about it.
That was one of the issues. We had to have a box with a code on it to get the key out to open the door.
So I think that should be something we try to get an approximate dollar value of before budget season.
Okay.
That would seem like that would be a good budgetary item.
Thank you.
I'll
Look, a volunteer. Look, that's what it looks like when someone volunteers.
we can sit down and figure out, you know, what keys might be needed so we can get a cost on that, and then we can look at access and you know, take some prices.
Yeah, I don't think every office in the office portion needs to have a lock on it. It just, like, what are we hiding? Okay, so, are you done with Michael, or?
Yeah.
Have you finished? Thank you very much. And now we move on to Mr. Sidlow's portion of the program.
Okay, so for the ordinance report, over more than a year, we have slowly worked on updating some ordinances, and we finally have a draft of the changes that we want to make. These are for changes to certain portions of section 119, 126, and 129 of the Borough Code. 119 is housing, 126 is parks, and 129 is soliciting. And so, I don't know, there's 4 pages of changes here. I don't know how to summarize this in any way that would make sense for the community and for everything. I will say, well, if we agree to advertise at this meeting tonight, the proposed ordinance will be posted and everybody can get a chance to review it prior to next meeting, including members of the community. I know council, I have shared this information multiple times through multiple emails, so council has at least had a chance to see it. But do you have a way of summarizing this, Mr. Wills, or am I doing?
We have, you're correct in that we have basically dissected 3 ordinances, again, dealing with peddling and solicitation, occupancy, as well as parks and rec. Again, most of those ordinances are staying as is, so this is a very specific dissecting of the ordinances that had to be changed or thought they were appropriate to be changed. So these aren't wholesale changes, but these are specific and again, very dissecting with regard to language that the ordinance committee believed would be appropriate for change and amendments and supplements, and we have done that, I think, in an artful way. Again, if we were to advertise this ordinance, it would allow council to make some changes, so long as they are not real material, substantive changes. If we needed to tweak it between now and next month, certainly the fact that we simply advertised it would still authorize council to make minor changes or additions or tweaks. So I'll leave it to the pleasure of Borough Council as to which it chooses to do this evening.
So I'll make the motion that we advertise these changes to the borough ordinances. Right? We don't have a number, I guess.
Yet,
It hasn't been assigned.
It hasn't been assigned yet, okay.
you got a second. Any questions?
Yes. I sent an email concerning 2 issues on section 126-2,
Okay?
and that was on the permit required, and I asked if we should not put in the necessary information from our insurance carrier to supply a $1 million liability insurance in that section. Section 129-2.
Well, let's take them
Okay.
one at a time if we can.
So what's that regarding?
So you're saying we need to put it...
126-2,
Okay, but what's that particularly regarding?
permit required fee.
So this section does not require a fee, and it just says 10 or more people who wish to use the park for recreation purposes must get a permit 5 days ahead of time.
And should something be stated in there that they must supply an insurance certificate as per the?
I would recommend not doing that, and Mr. Wilkins, you could elaborate, or verify what I'm gonna say. The fact that the requirements are on the application that we're gonna be looking at later, it's already there, because if we need to change that dollar amount for anything, then we need to...
Change the ordinance.
We have to change the ordinance, re-advertise, publish, change it on E360 again. So if it's already gonna be there on the application and it says they have to get the application, I think you're covered that way.
That makes logical sense.
Artfully said.
God bless. All right.
The second one, I brought up the section on 129-2, and that was regarding who checks the vehicle of a vendor to make sure that their vehicle is legal as far as, we don't want an illegal vehicle on our streets selling whatever they're selling.
I don't know, it's not the role of municipal government to check if a vehicle is inspected and the lights are working, and particularly, I think you're referring particularly to an ice cream truck. I mean, that's the job of the ice cream vendor and his vehicle mechanic to keep the vehicle in operating conditions. I don't think it's the role of the municipal government to check if a ice cream truck is operating.
I would say not to throw this back on Chief Murray or his officers, whether it's a vendor driving down the street or just a resident driving down the street.
The police should be involved in that.
It's checking the ice cream truck, checking your neighbor's car, should all fall into the same already. And the health, and they have to have, as far as the health-wise aspect of it, they're supposed to have the certificate from the County Board of Health.
Yeah, I wasn't worried about the
Yeah.
county as much as vehicle. Make sure the
I
vehicle.
I would say,
We'll
falls
put
like-
that on our police chief's hands.
Well, just a quick read. It says there is a permit required. On the permit, we can ask for proof of insurance and a current registration for the vehicle.
Okay.
Okay? If we get those 2 things presented to us, recorded on the form, at least we know that that vehicle is street worthy, okay? It's got a Pennsylvania registration or a New Jersey registration, whatever, but a current registration, which is what a police officer would require on a motor vehicle stop, okay? Show me your credentials. I need to see your driver's license, I need to see your proof of insurance, and I need to see your registration for the vehicle. There's no reason why we can't request that kind of item in the permit that person comes in to obtain in order to conduct his business.
Okay.
It's a good idea, thank
So-
you.
doesn't need to necessarily be in the ordinance.
Bob, would you, excuse me for cutting you off, would you see if you can find that permit for the ice cream truck vendor, for the ice cream vendors, and see if we can add those lines to that permit?
Okay.
Please.
When did that come in? I haven't seen it.
Yeah, who knows where it is?
It might be on the computer somewhere. The last time I think we used it was in the spring.
I was just going to add the proper inspection certificate, something that can be readily determined by any police officer simply walking up and seeing the inspection sticker on the vehicle. So that's nothing that's intrusive by any means.
Excellent. Do we still have a motion on the table?
We do have a motion on the table, those are questions.
All right. And we got a second. We got the questions. Any more questions about advertising? It's just one ordinance, or is it multiple?
It is we have condensed it into one ordinance, but it refers to multiple ordinances in the Parkside Borough Code of Ordinances.
Okay, excellent. All right, good job, Scott.
It's an economical way of revising the...
Thank you. I want to thank everyone who came to committee meetings and who was involved. There was at least a dozen residents who participated in the review of these three ordinances.
A dozen?
Maybe
Wow.
10, 12, something
That's
like that.
excellent. That's excellent.
1, 2, 3, there's at least 6 or 7 in the room, so, yeah.
Excellent.
I don't
Good
mean to
job.
point at everybody, I'm just counting, not pointing.
All right, I guess we'll vote now. All those in favor of advertising this ordinance?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Onward.
Thank you. Do you have a license inspection report, Bob?
No.
No, didn't
Parker's
receive
on
one.
vacation, so I don't have anything.
Okay.
He's on vacation? He gets one of those?
I was told today, do not involve me. So I have not involved him, but he's sure when he gets back on Monday.
Okay. So, we, at the special meeting we had 2 weeks ago, we voted to advertise a code enforcement officer position. And,
Oh, yeah, tell him that we had an executive session. I forgot to do that.
yes, so I pointed Bob in the direction of a list of code officials in Delaware County and drafted a short email inviting anyone that Bob could figure out an email address for to apply for the position of code enforcement officer. And we had 3 responses. We also posted on our Parkside Borough social media and website that position was open. So that was the process we used to advertise. And on Monday, we had a executive session where we interviewed 3 candidates. We interviewed 2 individuals and the owner of a code enforcement agency that handles multiple municipalities in Delaware County. And as a result of that meeting and those interviews and that conversation, I'd like to make a motion that we hire Matthew Verdi as the interim code enforcement officer. I don't think we're putting an end date on when the interim period would end, but we will make a decision to hire permanently at a point in the future.
Well, we had to make a quick decision because we needed to fill the position.
We need to fill the
so-
position. We have, houses transferring ownership and things like that needed to have inspection. So we need to have a code enforcement officer / housing inspector available. So I'd like to make the motion to appoint Matthew Verdi.
A second.
Any questions? I'm just going to make the comment that both Shirley and I wrote the exact same thing down when we interviewed him, and that's funny. But we both liked that he said that his philosophy is enforcement with compassion. And I view that he's going to be a person who will be fair and just and is not going to come running up on people and giving them fines and stuff like that. If somebody has long grass, maybe they're having an issue. Sometimes you gotta go and meet the person. So he seems like a great candidate. I'm very pleased with
And he spent 20 years in working for Upper Darby Township in that and management level roles of the health and code enforcement department in that municipality. So he has a lot of experience in this area.
So if you see a strange guy, all right, we'll vote first. All right, all those in favor of hiring Mr. Verdi on an interim basis?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. So if you see him, he'll be driving around in one of the cars, and he's a nice guy. Say hi to him. And keep your grass cut. Seems to be the thing we always talk about. All right, so is there anything else, Scott?
Oh, well, I'm on the next item.
Oh, you are, aren't you? That's right, air conditioner. Go ahead. Thank you
Okay.
for all your hard work on that, too.
All right, so I have met with so many contractors to get quotes for the air conditioner. There were at least 2 contractors who felt the job was too big for them because it was more of a commercial project than a residential project, so spending time with them, did not work out, which is okay. It is what it is. But I do finally, as of Thursday or Friday last week, I finally received 3 proposals for replacing the air conditioners. I was dealing with code enforcement and other issues this month, so I didn't get the chance to bring all those proposals together into a summary. I will have that for us next month. I have also gone through the building and done kind of a mini energy review and energy audit. I still have not pulled together the information I want to provide to the community. I was thinking of doing like a webinar where I would suggest how this building can be maintained and taken care of in the future. I think I'd like to try to do that for the Wednesday before next meeting, so that would be an online webinar. If we can find a Zoom account that I can use to do that, and then any member of the community would be able to participate and watch that and be able to ask questions.
Do you need longer than 45 minutes? Because I got one.
We'll figure that out, not in the meeting.
All right.
I also want to say that the chief called me 2 or 3 weeks ago and said that the rear section of the police station, the air conditioning was down. So fortunately, I had relationships with multiple of these contractors who were doing work, so I was able to get a contractor to repair that unit and get that going so that there was air conditioning available. I kind of think that there's a chance that we can get the 2 units that are currently not functioning, which is the ones that controls the borough office and the one that controls the hallway and the bathrooms. I'm tempted to say that we put a little money into those units and try to get them working again and see if we can get a couple more years out of them. Because they're all the same age, and I think there's a good chance that if one was broken and they were able to fix it, that the same problems might be occurring on the other ones. So I don't know what the consensus of the board is, but Bob, you never received the invoice from DZO Mechanical, did you, for the air conditioner
Not
repair?
that I recall.
Yeah,
I don't remember seeing it.
I even texted him asking for the invoice in preparation for this meeting to get a sense of what it cost to repair condenser number 5 to see if we should try to make repairs to condenser number 1. So we could potentially get some more life out of condenser 1 and 2 if we make some repairs. We could also throw money at it that we don't need if we choose to replace.
When was he here? Do you remember?
It's at least 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, he was here a Friday and a Saturday. He came
The end
Friday
of
to
July.
figure out. It was the hottest day in July. It was
End of July 28th in that area.
yeah.
I'll double check my email just to make sure that
Okay.
there isn't something floating around in there.
Okay.
I don't recall seeing it.
Okay. So I also have done some research. There is a community development energy efficiency block grant that is going to be available to communities in Pennsylvania in the next year or so. You heard about that already?
I've heard of
Yeah,
that.
that's through the Inflation
Laura
Reduction
Carnes
Act.
was just talking about that the other day when I was with her.
Yeah, so there is potentially, it requires an energy audit like what I'm doing, and it requires a couple other things. I didn't get into it too much, but that money has just been awarded to the state, so who knows how long it will take for the money to come down to
Do you know?
the level where we can apply for it. But there is block grant funding that is coming available in the next months or years for building efficiency improvements, HVAC improvements, the kinds of things that this building and every building in Parkside can benefit from. There's also the GELF, which is the Green Energy Loan Fund. So we can borrow money to make energy efficiency improvements. And then, of course, we also have the budgeting process that we're going to be starting so we can budget, for HVAC systems as well. So we have a number of choices as to how we can pay for things. So those are my thoughts. Does anybody have any thoughts on my comments?
My only concern is that those units are 20 years old, and they're going to start to nickel and dime us. And if we're going into budget season, keeping in mind that if there is a grant out there in 2024, even if we budget for it and don't need that money through a grant, to me, it's logical, instead of nickel and diming these units, to replace them.
Okay.
Once we get a cost factor that we can use to base the budget on.
Yeah, I'd like to know the cost difference between repair and replace, obviously.
Okay. I'll try to work out those details. And I did also want to say this building was rebuilt about 20 years ago, so it makes sense that 20-year-old HVAC equipment is due for replacement. That's
You bet.
about the expected lifespan of it.
15.
And 15 for an air conditioner, 20 to 25 for a heater.
They don't make them like they used to, huh?
I will mention that if whatever you're going to do, what I would suggest to you is contact PICO under the Smart Ideas, because there are rebates that are available. They're not big rebates because those units aren't large units. But quite frankly, by the time you were to repair a 20-year-old condensing unit or air handler, the energy efficiency that you would get with a new unit almost pays for the difference. You're going to, as Mrs. Purcival said, you're going to end up just repairing because there's only so many Band-Aids you can put on something.
Agreed.
So,
Agreed.
just my thoughts.
And the last thing I want to say is I think the timeline to get the work done is by next summer's air conditioning season. Presumably, the heaters are going to continue to work just fine. It's probably an air condition problem, not a heater problem. So sometime March, April, at the latest May, the work should be completed. So I think that's kind of the timeline of when things need to get done, not rush to make a quick decision.
Right. No, I agree with you that we need to get done so that Bob doesn't cook next summer. But I think you've done a good job with putting the window units in, right? I mean, it's been pretty nice.
It's been cold in the morning.
Yeah.
It's fine.
All right. Anything else?
That's my update.
Thank you. What's next? Okay. Does anybody have any? Nope. All right. Ms. Purcival, we'll move on to recycling and
Super, thank you very much. Recycling totals for last month was 13.16 ton. Regular trash was 101.46 ton. I'd like to remind everybody that we have Labor Day coming up soon, and there is no recycling on Wednesday, September 6th, due to Labor Day holiday. Thank you, that's all I have.
I have a question. So, we've agreed to move forward with the firehouse audit. Over the months and years, you've been very reluctant to have an audit of the firehouse's funds. I just want to, is there anything that you know that we may find in this audit? Is there any information that you want to share?
Can we keep this in order of what
Okay.
we're doing here? That's a discussion for later.
Thank you.
Okay.
Just on the agenda,
And
okay.
no-
Oh, it's on the agenda?
No, that it's for, not
And no,
for that
Mr.
point in the
Sidlow,
agenda.
there would be no surprises that I would know of that council would not be aware of.
Thank you very much.
Okay, now we don't even have to do it, okay. Mr. Sweigart, communications.
Communications, next meeting of the Communications Committee is going to be Tuesday, September 12th, 6:30. We are getting ready to put out the teaser flyers, I believe, for the next newsletter, which should be out soon.
It's out now, right?
Okay.
It's
I
already
wasn't sure
out.
if you published it out there or not. You were on vacation. I didn't want to pressure you.
So it came out this afternoon.
Yep, got posted this afternoon. Take a look at it if you get a chance. It's on the website. There's a write-up on Officer Patrick, so,
Other than that, I can report general progress.
all right. Do we have anything from the tax collector?
I do. June 26, 2023 to July 23rd, 2023. Good evening. Treasurer has received a total of $1,198,952.42 to date. There was $22,619.28 in revenue deposits from June 26, 2023 to July 23, 2023. With regards, Mr. Edfisher.
Thank you very much. And now, the long-awaited Lisa Catania.
Well, thank you. That's quite an introduction. Glad to be back, I think. I'm hoping, I know Nathaniel is not going for civil engineering, so
No.
he will not be a municipal engineer. Harry and I have talked about his decisions for quite a long time, but I was hoping maybe within 8 years, or which would be the time that he could get his PE, I could probably retire, and we'll see if that ever happens. But anyway,
You can switch. They always switch.
they do switch majors. You're right. Typically, he's going for electrical, right?
Computer
Computer.
engineering and probably electrical
Yeah.
together.
So anyway, usually electrical and civil, mechanical and civil switch all the time, but
Turn
we'll go
your phone
beyond.
around so they can see how small that print is.
I can read it.
How does she read that? Go ahead.
Anyway, just to give you an update, the small sewer and water, I know council's aware of it, but I just wanted to make sure, we've had conversations about this forever. CFA meeting, they voted to table it until their September meeting. So we have not heard whether we've been awarded funding or not, so we'll just have to wait until their meeting, which I believe is the third week of September. I didn't pull what date it was.
In the meantime, can we get somebody out to fill them there? The holes are starting to sink
I'll
again.
call Mike Burns, he'll do it.
Thank you.
PennDOT's been doing it recently, so. He said as long, he'll even give us the material. He said he's low on personnel, but he'd give us the material. He offered to give us the material if we could get somebody to put the pipe in the ground. That didn't really work real well. Anyway, the West Cole Memorial, just so everyone is aware, the lights for that park are supposed to be shipped on October the 15th, which will work out. Ernell will come back, actually his Mecca Electric, who is his sub, will come back, put the lights in. About that same time, we'll be able to have the new Christmas tree, the new evergreen, installed, because they will not pull that evergreen until the weather gets cooler. So it'll be about that time frame. We'll have it ready for Christmas this year.
And
So-
it'll have lights and it won't be cords hanging all over.
And we will have lights without all the cords, exactly. I wanted to mention that County Council has announced the next round, Phase 4, or Round 4, excuse me, I keep calling phases, Round 4 of the Greenways Grant. Just taking my experience with Parkside Borough, I know that we have some issues over at Woodlot I know it involves trees. I'm wondering if there's not some way that we could have some of the, I'm going to call it maintenance, but I don't want to call it maintenance. We've got issues that trees are safety. We would be able to possibly do some landscaping, some improvements along, in particular along the service road, so that we can get some of that stream bank completed. It would be under an enhance or a conserve grant. I don't know which one. I'll have to call Peter Williamson. He's running the program now that Ann has gone to parks. The woman who was running the program has moved on to Delaware County Parks Division, so she's not around. And I checked because we've been successful in getting $5,000, $10,000 from the Pico Green region, but I haven't seen anything, and this is usually the time that I see it come out. There is absolutely nothing on their website since 2021 awards, so I'm not sure where that stands. So I might give the Conservancy a call and see if Natural Lands Trust, and see if they're planning on doing anything. But I think if we were to look at that, upgrade that intersection where we were going to put the rain garden in, it'll help with our MS4 program, because we have certain total suspended solids that we have to remove from stormwater, so it'll give us a heads up with that as well.
Lisa, I was going to mention that because there is no match to that round.
That is correct.
And
Green Waste does not have a match to it.
yeah, and it opened up July 31st, but it closes September 29th.
Yep. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't read that part.
We're on a
It
short,
must have been too small for me. September 29th.
we're on a short window.
I'm sorry. I had to.
So what do we need to do?
That's all I have, unless anyone has any questions.
So, yeah, we'd like to get that grant.
Yeah, if anybody has any ideas, we'll have to put a resolution together. I'm going to tell you, probably the best grants are the ones where we have different groups. Like we used a few years ago, we took the ferry. What was that? What was that called? The ferry.
Yeah, the ferry walk.
Yeah, the ferry walk, and then we put that into the grant so that. But if we can get specific groups putting letters of support in, anybody has
The
any?
Recreation Committee uses that field too for the Easter events.
Yeah. So, we've got to start looking at getting some more support letters out so that we're more successful with it.
Right now? Okay, great, thank you. Is that it? Okay. And now, Mr. Wills.
Yes, thank you, Madam President, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. If council shall recall, at last month's meeting, it passed a resolution authorizing the addition of Borough Secretary Robert J. Platt as an authorized signer on the borough's Sharon Bank savings accounts. Subsequent thereto, the borough treasurer has recently advised that she has moved certain borough general funds from Sharon Bank to Pliget in order to take advantage of higher interest rates. Ms. Sidlow has further advised that the borough maintains some smaller escrow accounts at TD Bank, and therefore she has requested that the borough modify the resolution adopted by Borough Council last month, authorizing, again, Secretary Platt as a signer on the Sharon account to also include funds held at Pliget and TD Bank. And so I have a resolution for Borough Council's consideration that modifies or tweaks that resolution from last month to include both the Pliget account and the TD Bank accounts. And so if it is the pleasure of Borough Council, a motion would be in order to adopt said resolution.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any questions? Seems pretty straightforward. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Second item on my agenda concerns the Parkside Fire Company. Last week, I was engaged in a telephone conference with the recently retained solicitor for the Parkside Fire Company. The solicitor appeared receptive and inquired as to what documents would be required in order for the borough to conduct a forensic audit of the fire company. At my direction, the borough treasurer has corresponded with the fire company's solicitor and provided a list of documents necessary to commence that audit. It is my understanding that the fire company is in the process of compiling those documents. And again, we will be in touch with Ms. Stillwell as this process moves forward. Next item on my agenda concerns Parkside Terrace. At council's direction, I had initiated an investigation with the Delaware County Board of Property Assessments as well as the Delaware County Recorder of Deeds Office to ascertain title and ownership to the thoroughfare known as Parkside Terrace and its adjacent parking lot area. I was unable to locate any deed of dedication from the initial developer of that housing project to the borough, granting the borough title and ownership. Because the borough has never accepted a deed of dedication to the thoroughfare, nor is one recorded in the public records of the county courthouse, the said thoroughfare remains a private roadway. As such, the borough has no maintenance and/or repair responsibilities, nor is it responsible to conduct any snow plowing operations for that thoroughfare. In addition, the borough's ability to regulate parking and traffic control is extremely limited. There are some minor exceptions for law enforcement to play a minor role under the Pennsylvania Motor Vehicle Code as it relates to fire safety and emergency management issues. Next item on my agenda.
Wait.
Yes.
So who owns that road?
It is owned therefore by the development there at Parkside Terrace. It is not owned by the borough. There is no deed of dedication. We were unable to locate any.
So nobody owns it because the development doesn't exist. I mean, there's nobody.
Yeah. Precisely who owns it, I can't speculate as to that. I only know that the borough is not the record or title owner to that parcel.
So we do housing inspections there. Do we need to stop doing rental inspections?
No.
No.
Well, what's the difference?
Because that has to do with the housing, and the housing is located in the Borough of Parkside, and we obviously have multiple ordinances on the books regulating housing.
And
This
we're
is-
actually obligated by the state to inspect those rentals.
This simply has to do with the parking area there, the thoroughfare known as Parkside Terrace. Like I said.
So it's no man's land.
Yes.
Okay.
Other than I can unequivocally report, the borough does not own Parkside
Gotcha.
Terrace.
We don't know who owns it, but we don't.
I would be speculating
Okay.
who owns it. Next item
Thank
on
you.
my agenda, again, I've been working with the borough's ordinance committee and the chairperson here, Mr. Sidlow, in drafting the various ordinances that, again, rescinds, amends, and supplements certain sections of the general code of the Borough of Parkside, again, entitled Occupancy, Parks and Recs, and again, Peddling and Soliciting. And again, council has in fact passed a motion today that we authorize that particular ordinance.
Advertise.
Advertise, I'm sorry. And then finally, the right to know request. Again, my office continues to work diligently with the borough's open records officer in responding to multiple unabated right to know law requests, including appeals before the Pennsylvania Office of Open Records. Again, I am pleased to advise that the borough continues to experience an exceptionally high rate of success in achieving favorable outcomes before the Pennsylvania Office of Open Records. And with that, Madam President, I can report general progress.
Yeah, that's a mouthful. Okay. Thank you very much.
Can I ask you a question before you go on? Sorry.
Maybe.
Ask two.
Okay, maybe more than that.
Yes.
But after the last council meeting, the next day I went into my office and I found some paperwork with regards to Parkside Terrace. And there's a memorandum here from March of 2004, ordinance number 428, sets forth a parking permit procedure for Parkside Terrace,
Yes.
since the borough has taken possession of that property.
There is no deed on record that we have. And again, there's an issue of what authority the borough may have to regulate parking on a private thoroughfare. That's
Okay.
a separate and distinct issue.
Okay, because I'm
And
issuing parking permits, and are you telling me now I shouldn't do that?
I think that's something we need to consider.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, I'm done.
And again, we have limited ability to regulate that. Again, there are certain exceptions, as we spoke about, public safety exceptions, emergency management, and with regard to fire access, so we do have some limited ability to regulate that. But again, that is a private roadway, so with regard to orchestrating some parking permit operation, that's a separate and distinct issue.
Can we choose to invite that into Parkside? Can we choose to make it part of our?
Everything I've heard is that that's just asking for trouble, but,
There's a lot of cons that are associated with that, and that's something
Well,
we
if
may-
I'm just feeling for the residents. It
me
seems
too,
like There's a lot
me
of
too.
cons over there for the residents.
I'm feeling for them too, but, we need to look into the legal ramifications of that.
All right.
that's assuming, again, certain responsibilities and financial obligations that perhaps we need to discuss at a future meeting, or and again, because there are legal exceptions and legal repercussions here, that's a matter that we could actually discuss in executive session as well.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I think we are now on to the call to citizens for anything you want to talk about.
Suzanne Dolan. I just had a question. I found out, was contacted that the woodlot lights were on. My question is, I want to know, what was the reason that the lights weren't working? And, what did they do to fix it?
The timer wasn't working. There was a timer that was controlling when the lights went on and off. That was not working, so now they've set it so that it goes on when it gets dark and goes off when it gets light. It was purely an electrical, just the timer.
Okay.
How you doing? Ed Fisher. I had a couple questions about lights. We were talking about doing some new LED lights in a couple of the council meetings and all that noise is going away. I was wondering if we could fix the lights we have. I walk my dog at night all the time, and it's very dark down on that Burden or Parkway street. And those lights don't seem to be all working down in that area.
Well, go ahead.
Well, so we are planning to replace all the streetlights that are not LED in this calendar year. That is what we're working towards. Obviously, we need lighting right now.
It's been out
Yeah,
for quite a while.
yeah.
I mean, probably over a year.
Okay, so the procedure whenever a light is out is to contact the borough secretary, and there's a poll number on any pole.
Who shot that? The code enforcement officer?
No, the resident,
We
if you
generally
would
ask
like
the-
to make a
We generally ask the
complaint.
residents to report lights that are out.
We don't know about it otherwise unless, I mean, we don't necessarily have the code enforcement guy going out at night when the lights are on.
Okay.
So if you can, please take the poll number on any light that's out, call it into the borough secretary, and we'll spend 90 or 100 bucks to get it to be metal halide, the kind we currently have, and then
All right, the
When-
next
when-
thing I wanted to ask about was, when I moved here, I was told there's a noise ordinance, that I couldn't make any noise, especially on the weekend, before 7 o'clock. And now I'm being told there's no noise ordinance in this borough. And that's very hard to believe.
There is a noise ordinance. I tried to change that several years ago.
Well, somebody
where-
did, because they're
well-
working on the school at 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah. Oh, no, I know, I hear them with their leaf blowers on the ceiling as well coming from my house.
Do you like that?
What's that?
Do you like that?
To be honest with you,
It doesn't matter to you?
my dogs have me up by 6 o'clock.
Okay.
So,
well,
yeah, I mean, honestly.
Not everybody's like you.
No, I understand that. No, but what I'm saying is, there is a noise ordinance, it's very vague. I tried to change it,
Well, that's
so.
not a noise ordinance.
No,
If you have a vague noise ordinance with no time, that's not a noise ordinance.
All right, would you like him to answer you? Go ahead and answer him,
Yeah,
Perry.
I tried to change that so that we had specific times in the ordinance. Council passed it, and it was vetoed by the mayor at the time.
And it was passed unanimously, but for some reason, we did not vote to overturn the veto. I don't know why. That was
Oh,
weird.
so it was a double negative.
I mean, I tried to change it, but it was vetoed by the mayor. So the change in the ordinance to establish a set time, which is what you're
Okay.
referring to, was.
I'm just a little fed up that people can come out here, run generators all night long,
Oh, I agree with you.
and they can come up onto a roof and run all their machines at 5:30 in the morning before the sun's even up. I don't think that's a residential area. Sounds like a commercial area around here right now. And it's happening, it's been all summer, all summer.
is this the first you're making it known to the community? Have you called into the borough office?
I'm not the whole community.
I know, but did
I
you
am
call
one
the office
person.
to make a complaint
I don't
previously?
call police. I was told to call the police. That's what we were told to do.
Okay, so did you?
No, you don't call the police. The police said you don't call us for that. Explain that.
All right, I'm sorry. I will look into it. I will call and see why the school thinks that they need to be working at 5:30 in the morning. But I appreciate you letting me know. Feel free
Well, with no
to send an
noise
email.
ordinance, they're going to work whenever they want.
I think we can have a conversation. You said your name's Ed Fisher, right?
Yes.
So you're a tax collector? Nice to meet you. Thank you. I never had met you before, so.
Is this a
I've got
construction
you plenty
project?
of time.
I don't know. Are they
bet
doing a
you
construction
$3
project?
Doing the roof at the school.
They're doing the roof at
So,
the
so
school.
it's under a commercial permit? Let me make a phone call, Ed,
Thank you.
okay?
Because
Charles,
that's right outside my
so
windows. I
we,
have not-
we,
I have
it-
not
Okay,
complained-
order. Let's one at a time. All right.
I have not
Time out.
complained at all.
so
I'm just saying.
I'm trying to explain to you that Catania Engineering, which you know, because you work at Catania Engineering, Catania Engineering has the responsibility for inspections. I am going to have Charles contact the contractor, find out why they're working the hours that they're working. We can probably take care of it just with a phone call and not with an ordinance, okay?
I believe they're finished.
What's that?
I believe they're finished.
Okay.
Well,
In
I
the
wouldn't
future-
know that because I don't do the permits, but that's
Honestly,
why I asked the
In
question,
the
was it a
future,
construction
if you have
project?
an issue with somebody making noise at 5:30 in the morning, please call the office so that we know about it, because
September.
honestly, if you told us earlier, we would have made arrangements. We would have made phone calls. Right?
Well, I know people that complained, and
Is it,
they were told.
is it possible to vote on it again?
It's possible that we can bring it up again. We'll have to advertise it again, right? I mean,
Yes.
we'd have to advertise. I don't understand why we didn't overturn the veto right then and there, because you were the president and we voted unanimously, yet he vetoed and we didn't bring it up for another vote to overturn. So that would have been the solution to that, so.
I believe the ordinance committee, I've spoken with the chair, and we're going to revisit that proposed ordinance. So that is something that is on our radar.
Well, I believe it contained things that didn't pertain to our borough, so it just needs to be cleaned up.
It needs to
Mr.
be
Dietman.
tweaked, and the ordinance committee did not follow through with it.
Ordinance committee in
Did not
2021,
Follow through,
2020? Okay,
did not follow through.
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. It was nice to meet you finally.
I met you 3 times.
Okay. You never identified yourself as the tax collector. I would have put it all together.
Hi, Lisa Cosgrove on East Avon Road. Just a couple of, one quick question for Mrs. Purcival. What, do you know where the residents can find like the signups for volunteers?
For the Recreation
Yeah,
Committee?
for Community Day.
Yes, there's a sign-up genie
Because I
on,
looked last week, I didn't see them, so just
I understood it to be on the Parkside Recreation Committee
on the
website.
bulletin that, okay, I'll check there again. Thank you.
Don't bother. Lisa, don't bother. They're asking who's gonna bring soda and who's gonna bring water. Very vague.
Okay, well, I don't know, because I haven't seen it. I was just wondering, because I know a lot of people maybe can't be involved in committee anymore, or can't do things like that, but can do day of, help, and would love to do that. Like, I know a lot of us have done that. We've shown up to set up, or clean up, or bring beverages, or snacks, or whatever.
Right.
Okay, anyway, that's all. I was just asking about that. And
I
then
don't
just a
wanna
couple
know.
of,
I'm going to watch it after.
just things that the community may be interested in. Next, on the 22nd, which is that Tuesday, next Tuesday morning, there is a public hearing over at Widener University for, at 10 a.m. for the proposed LNG processing plant in Chester. And the public is-
LNG.
LNG, liquefied natural gas. And that poses, there are a lot of issues related to that, health issues that could affect not just Chester, we're Chester's neighbors. The air we breathe, the community, the roads we drive, we all share the same general, any of us in this area. Anyway, inform yourself though, there's going to be a meeting in the web room out of Widener's campus at 10 a.m. next Tuesday. So if you're at all available, it might be an eye-opening community civic engagement activity. I also wanted to draw people's attention to, in our new newsletter, we will be featuring a new series called Parkside Youth Voices in our newsletter. So we are looking for young people's perspectives, and that can be ranging from 5-year-olds through our high schoolers. We hope to have a variety of, we can't promise to feature everybody who submits every time, but to get a variety of perspectives. Things like creative expressions, poetry, artwork, maybe reviews of fun places that you like to go to with your family. Books you've read, good book reviews are always fun. Music reviews, films, maybe interviews with a favorite neighbor. When my daughter was growing up, our next door neighbor, Ms. Lois, was like a surrogate grandma to my daughter because her grandparents lived far away. I'm so glad that my daughter, we did interviews with Ms. Lois, so it was lovely that we have that now. So sometimes we feel like, might be a fun way to also encourage your child to put themselves out there a little bit and step outside their comfort zone. I'd like to, interview the lady on the corner whose dog I always interact with and see what she's about. Just a way of getting our more youth voices involved. So any ideas are welcome, and we will be looking to share some of those in future newsletters. And my email is listed in the newsletter, lisa.cosciarella, and I'll spell it for you. You can get the newsletter at gmail.com. So send us your ideas, or if you already have something that your kid is working on and you'd like to propose that, let me know. Last thing, Monday, September 8th, I will be doing a collection for Chester East Side's homeless, houseless services. They distribute a lot of snacks and supplies and toiletries and things for the homeless in our area. So I will be collecting for that, and I will be putting out a list of most needed items. It's things like socks and underwear and toiletries.
So you're
snacks.
collecting in the morning, that morning?
Yes, we'll be collecting
Okay.
on Monday, September 18th. So I'll be putting out flyers about that, and then I'll put them out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Andrew Slowick, 142 East Roller Road. Two quick questions. One, the new code enforcer, what's it that he's, how much is he going to get paid, or what kind of cost are you looking at?
$22 an hour, and he'll use the vehicle once he gets here.
And he's going to work 10 to 15 hours a week.
10 to 15 hours a week.
Okay. Number two, the only other question is that there was a question about, you saying the mayor doesn't have a budget. How many people do have a budget here? How many departments do we have that have
I don't have a budget. I mean, Recreation has a budget, the police have a budget, the office has a budget. But no, council members don't have a budget. We don't have money that we can spend.
You don't have, none of you guys have a budget?
What would I spend money on? What?
Well, I'm just saying, any other,
The committees.
They don't have a budget at all?
There's line items for basically all the committees. So if there's an activity and we know it's upcoming, there'll be a line item in the budget that says community days budgeted for $2,000, and we make sure we have that $2,000. Is it anyone's discretion? Not necessarily. That's why.
Each department has a budget?
Well, that's why things, even cost expenditures of even $500 should come before the board if they're out of process. You know, it was brought up about the projector and things like that.
Correct.
You know, that was going to be a cost in itself. Storing it's a cost, maintaining it's a cost, things of that nature. So even items as low as $500 should come basically in front of the council so that it's not willy-nilly, I guess.
So the only department we have that gets money is really the police.
I'm happy to give you a copy of the budget and you can see how it's all allocated, but, you know, like, I don't have any reason to spend money ever. As president, I don't need, I actually was gonna propose that we get some sort of business cards just for the office because Bob is constantly writing down the email address for people. But, you know, like, I don't need business cards because I'll just send them an email, you know. So I don't need a budget. Scott doesn't need a budget. Michael doesn't need a budget. He has a budget, like, for the junior council. He'll have a budget for that. So if he needs money for something that they're doing, that's his budget. So it's not for the people, it's for the committees more than anything.
Thank you.
Certainly. I think the budget, the finances are on the website if you ever want to look at them.
Will do. Thank you.
Certainly.
Kyle Palmer. I just wanted to ask if you could get photos of Mr. Bailey and Mr. Verdi for the website. So since they're new and the residents aren't familiar with them, if they see them around, maybe they'll see a picture of them.
Here, he's right there.
And then maybe we make a little blurb about them so we can push it out on social media, just so, you know.
She's still gonna be like, turn to the right. Let me get my hair cut.
And just stop in the police office on the way out.
You never had to turn to your right, you don't know what it's like.
Thank you, Kyle. That's a good idea. Appreciate it. Anybody else? Really? Okay. Old business. Bob, that's yours, right?
I guess.
Alright, go.
I have received the information from Gallagher. I am fully bonded.
And what did that involve? You just had to Give them your social security number or something?
I had to submit an application, just name, address, social, nothing personal.
No DNA or anything like that? Okay.
Nothing too intrusive.
No fingerprinting, or, all right.
Can we get some kind of business card for Bob now that he's here?
I don't think it needs to be for Bob specifically. I just think
Or just
Parkside
something with
office.
our email address.
Yeah, Parkside office should have a business card with the phone number and the office email address.
You can get that cheaply online.
Yeah, check Vistaprint. They knock that stuff out super cheap. Just because every time I'm in there, you're giving somebody the email address. All right, Parkside Terrace, we already discussed that. New business. Bob put together an application for when somebody would like to have an event at the public spaces. Have you all had a chance to look at it?
I had a question about the fee. This says $15, but I believe the ordinance we just passed was no fee.
That's
Right, so,
Yeah, I mean, we should probably change that.
Good, I'm all for no fee.
Once we adopt the ordinance is what is paramount. The ordinance is controlling, so we will need to amend the application to be in conformity with the ordinance, assuming the ordinance is properly adopted in next month's meeting.
That being said, can I return fees that we collected for permits?
Well, it's in effect now,
No,
it will be out, it will change once the ordinance is adopted.
Okay.
So, does anybody have any questions about this? Do we need to make a motion to approve this application? Okay, we'll make a motion. I'll make that motion.
A second.
Are there any questions? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. You guys are getting restless, huh? Is it snack time? Is there anything else?
Move to adjourn.
Really?
Second.
All right. Any objections? So moved. Thank you very much.